Welcome to episode number 253 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording on December 14, 2018. A ton of things to talk about this week, including ugly sweater season, WordPress 5.0, Spotify hearts Ellen, Google Lens, NPR is rad, expert trolling, burger love, stadium for sale, Shrek retold, Santa appraised, Hollywood commercials, working moms, Clueless King, and Facebook photos and a bunch more. But BL kicks it off as she does every week with the best story of the week. BL, what do you got?
Well, it is the season for this one. This is a story about truly ugly Christmas sweaters. And, ironically, bad sweaters are a holiday tradition, and they come with reindeer and the Finnish newspaper Helsingin Sanomat has taken this. Has taken this tradition a few steps farther. They made sweaters that are really covered with ugly images. They have bombs, they have plastic pollution, they have fake news and technological manipulation. Some of them are about Me Too, and some of them are about climate change. So what they did was they made these sweaters, and then they sent them to celebrities and influencers who work on these issues. So they sent Arnold Schwarzenegger and Leonardo DiCaprio sweaters about climate change. Nobel Peace Prize winners Marty Ahtisaari and Malala and Nadia Murad, they sent them ones for war. And Tarana Burke and Alyssa Milano got ones about sexual harassment because they led those movements. So each sweater is 100% wool and is produced locally in Finland. And a series of articles on each topic are going to run in the newspaper. And the paper has a history of commenting on social issues in kind of cheeky ways. So previously, they're the ones who had the Finland billboards welcoming President Trump and Vladimir Putin to Finland, the land of the free press, last year. So
that's hilarious. That's very clever. That's very smart to send them to the influencers on their own pet topics. It's very, very good idea.
And they're nice sweaters, I have to say. I mean, even though they have images.
Yeah, they're ugly Christmas sweaters. I wouldn't go that far.
Whoopi Goldberg was on Colbert the other night, and she has these sweaters that are truly hideous. And she gave him one last year that was the guy was twerking on the sweater.
No, I don't want to see that.
I don't think you wore it.
Don't put that in the show notes. So, speaking of the holiday season, Zillow has a very clever promotion. They have posted Santa's house online. There's a description that reads, "A toy lover's paradise nestled on 25 idyllic acres. The property includes Santa's main living quarters, a community of elf tiny homes, a state-of-the-art toy-making facility, garage with space for an all-weather sleigh, and stables that board 8 live-in reindeers, plus a bonus stall for red-nosed company." The Santa's house was built in 1822. It is 2,500 square feet. It was last remodeled in 2013. There's a video walkthrough. There's a 360 tour of the entire Santa complex. There's photos, of course. And then there's also historical home value data. So Santa's home took a dive in value after the Great Recession, as most home values did. But in August of 2013, it was valued at $368,000. After the remodeling, though, it was valued at $551,000, and now it stands at $764,000. So very clever marketing ploy by Zillow.
What kind of furniture do they have?
It's very rustic. It's very much wood. The rough hewn wood furniture.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, sadly enough, $775,000 might buy you a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan.
But this is the North Pole, so.
Yeah, well, I like reindeer. So So, Spotify has done something really smart. They made a deal with Ellen, and they're creating a content hub for Ellen DeGeneres, and it'll be curated with playlists from her favorite artists and video clips of Ellen on the Go, her podcast. And the partnership is the first time that Spotify has worked with a partner on a content hub. And it's smart because Spotify's audience is younger and Ellen's audience is somewhat older, so they want to get outside their largely millennial base, and fans of the show tend to skew older and are very loyal to Ellen. So they'll be front and center for that audience with their on-air integrations from her, and one of the many ways that marketers are looking to capitalize on TV eyeballs outside of commercial spots. It's a very smart move. And at the same time, curated content offerings from DeGeneres could push some of the TV crowd, along with her 187 million followers on the Ellen digital network, to sign up for Spotify and drive revenue to that ad-supported model. So exclusive deals with celebrities are one way Spotify can differentiate its service in that crowded market from Apple, Pandora, Tidal, and lots of others. So smart move.
Interesting. So most people don't have a content hub on Spotify. They have a content hub on WordPress. most websites use WordPress as the content management system. They just had a major upgrade.
Musical content hub.
Yeah. They had a major WordPress had a major upgrade, 5.0, and it has a lot of improvements. I spent most of the day today upgrading most of the websites to 5.0, but the point of it is it's helping to do away with allowing you to use fewer plugins. Plugins can be a security risk, so that's a good thing. It's created kind of modern multimedia heavy layouts. There's responsive design built in, has a true WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get editor. It's building with blocks. So blocks is their new theme for WordPress 5.0. And it's just basically blocks of content. So you can drop in a block for a headline, for text, for a list, for images, for video, for embeds. You can rearrange the blocks in your post. And for developers, it presents a lot of advantages. Users can change the content directly while they're creating an individual post in WordPress, but it ensures that the content structure can't be easily or accidentally disturbed by accidental code edits. And then you can easily create your own blocks, developers can. What this really means is it's kind of the modularization of the web. You think of a space on the web page, and you can drop in whatever you need on that space, and it kind of sets up the platform for developing sites that are customized to each user. With this kind of block-based or modularization of the content management system, you could conceivably drop in some code in a block that customizes content based on the user that visits the website. So it's really exciting. It's going to take some getting used to, and it's also a little rocky rollout because 5.0 needed to be updated to 5.01 quickly because there's a huge security risk in 5.01. So if you got 5.0, upgrade right away to 5.01. WordFence has a post on by Dan Moen about some of the things that were security related in 5.0, which is sensitive data exposure. There's a potential for PHP object injection, unauthorized post creation, privilege escalation. So a user who's just a subscriber might be able to be escalated or updated to a admin, plugin vulnerabilities, and unauthorized file deletion. So lots of scary things. Just update your WordPress to 5.01.
That fixes all of it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was lucky that I have you to show me how this works. And what I like about it is there's no need for code for the stuff that I do, putting in content and video, the kind of posts that I do. I don't do any coding, but I had to in WordPress before. So I like that I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get is really nice. So NPR has launched something called RAD, which stands for Remote Audio Data. And it's a new software that they hope will move the needle on podcast measurement and away from downloads and into actual listeners. So it's a pingback technology, and it reports actual listening to a podcast file as opposed to merely downloading that file. They describe it as a method for sharing listening metrics from podcast applications straight back to publishers, and they claim to have extreme respect for privacy. It's been in development for a year, and it's supported by a consortium of podcast hosting and content companies, and it allows people who produce podcasts to insert coded tags within each show, and then when a listener reaches one of those tags, that information is sent back to a collecting destination owned by the hosting company. And so the apps that play the podcast also have to be RAD enabled. So this is very new. But NPR launched open source software development kits, SDKs, that any app can implement. And they're launching a free tag writing tool for podcasters to create their tags. And they share the whole tech spectrum at rad.npr.org. And NPR One's Android app is configured to use RAD tags now, and iOS will do the same in early 2019. And PodTrack is launching a beta program to show RAD data. So this should be helpful for publishers and also to advertisers, and it'll plug up something that we really need to fix.
Interesting. That's I'd love to take a look at that. Right now, the way that we measure it is through Google Tag Manager, and set up a tag to record the percentage of the audio file that was played, or the video file that was played, whichever is the case. But that's a percentage, and it's kind of imprecise. So it'd be interesting to see what they're doing, and hopefully, I mean, we need a lot better and more measurement for podcasting to understand what the audience is
The whole
listening to.
area needs it, so you're being treated to New York City sounds right now.
Yeah. Well, this is Google Lens is not new, but it is new relatively to Apple users. This is from a Media Post article by Laurie Sullivan, who reports that Google Lens has now put Google has now put the Lens functionality. And for those of you who don't know what Google Lens is, it's their visual search function. So it's been available on Apple devices, but it's been relegated to the photo apps, the Photos app. Now they put it in the search bar of the main Google app. So it's right next to the voice microphone icon, and all you need to do is tap it, and it'll bring up your camera. And what's so freaking great about it is it recognizes pretty much everything. Google's computer vision is amazing. So it enables visual search for products, buildings, plants and animals, QR codes, barcodes, business cards, nearly anything that features text in English, French, German, Italian, Korean, Portuguese, Spanish, and I'm sure more languages will be coming down the pike because they're pulling all that stuff in from Translate. But it is, it's amazing. I've got a screenshot we'll put included in the show notes of my television during a commercial. I pulled out the relevant information about that particular commercial with a link to the landing page for the commercial and a telephone number to call for the product. It's stunning technology. So if you've got an iPhone, you have it available to you. Try it out. It's pretty cool.
I saw a demo of it at a Google event. I'm trying to think how long ago. It's a few years, and they were saying that you could put your phone up to a leaf on a plant, and it would tell you what kind of plant that was. I mean, the stuff that it can do is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to try it. I did not know that. That's so cool. So, Burger King had a little problem. They Burger King had this idea that they were gonna get people to download their app this week. And it was a promo that ran until Wednesday. So, what happened was that if customers were within 600 feet of a McDonald's, they could unlock a deal giving them a Whopper burger for 1 penny at Burger King through the Burger King app. And then it offered them directions to the nearest participating Burger King, and they shared a video about how to order the Whopper sandwich on their US Twitter profile. And of course, this did not go well. The social media account for the US snack Pop-Tarts said, "I appreciate your savagery these days," to Burger King. But there were problems. Somebody said it would be great if it actually worked. I've been sitting in McDonald's for 5 minutes for nothing. Then another said that it backfired because they ended up just eating in McDonald's because the app didn't work. It didn't tell them where to go. Then another customer said, "I wanted to take you up on this offer, but once I reached McDonald's, I discovered that none of the nearby Burger Kings did mobile ordering, a requirement of this offer. So we got burgers at McDonald's since we were already there." So, the best intentions don't always work out. But you
That's
should have tested this more.
Yeah, that's a really amateur way of trolling. I mean, really, it's kind of yeah, kind
Yeah.
of bush league trolling. This is more expert trolling. This next example is expert trolling. This is from an XWeb article by Tristan Green. As you know, Google CEO Sundar Pichai was in Washington testifying before Congress this week, and there was a familiar protester who sat behind him during his testimony. It's a guy wearing a top hat and a mustache. He was perfectly positioned for a photo bomb over Pichai's left shoulder so as never to be out of camera range. This guy, otherwise known as Rich Uncle Pennybags, a.k.a. Monopoly Man. He started out with a top hat, then he propped up a money bag, then he added a monocle, which of course invited more photography. And then he upgraded his mustache to a supersized version of the mustache. And then he added even more mustaches. According to MSNBC, the guy's name is Ian Madrigal. He's a activist. He also photobombed 2017 hearing on the Equifax data breach as the Monopoly guy, and at Mark Zuckerberg's Senate hearing in April as a Russian troll. This, though, wasn't the only professional level trolling of the past week. Last Saturday, during the Army-Navy football game, some Army cadets were captured in the stands holding signs that read, "Navy listens to Nickelback." "Battleship is a stupid game. Hashtag sink the ship. Hashtag Army." And then finally, the best one, "No one played Navy, quote unquote, as a kid."
Well, I loved Monopoly Man. I thought he was
It was
adorable.
good. It was good.
So I am out of good news. I'm on to bad news.
I got a couple more good news.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us good news.
This is my Minnesota Vikings, who I want to talk about often, lost. We had such a promising season, but we lost to the Seattle Seahawks on Monday night, and a Minnesota Vikings fan named Original Matt B on Twitter took to Craigslist to sell US Bank Stadium, the Vikings' home venue. He went to Craigslist and posted the stadium for sale. And the listing read, "Lightly used $1 trillion stadium. Occupant has been a team that only has success in breaking the hearts of fans. Long history of collecting talent with no ideas on how to use them." It was the listing was quickly taken down by Craigslist, but very clever, and well done, Vikings fan.
That's hilarious.
For the holidays, if you're looking for a holiday movie to watch, you might want to watch Shrek Retold. It's not really a holiday movie, but this is a great story. This is more than 200 people got together and collaborated on producing a feature-length retelling of Shrek. So people contributed scenes to the movie, and it's called Shrek Retold. It's on YouTube, and it's got 1.7 million views in less than a month. It's very clever, very funny, and you should watch it. Finally, I've collected 10 holiday commercials on a post on one of my blogs, which put a link to in the show notes. But there's some great examples here. You've probably seen the Apple ad with
Yep.
Billie Eilish.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it's animated. It's the story of a writer who finds joy in sharing rather than hiding her own gifts. So you think a lot of the holiday ads are about giving gifts, but giving physical gifts, and this one is about giving her innate gift of writing. And then you love space, DL. We both
Oh
love
yeah,
space, right?
everything about it.
Macy's has a wonderful ad that has to do with the space station. There's an astronaut on the space station who's obviously separated from her family during the holidays. Before she launched, she was given a gift from her family, not to be opened until Christmas. And the ad is her opening up the gift, and you have to see the. I'm not going to give away the punchline or whatever, but you have to see it to appreciate it. It's a heart melting commercial. Very well done. I've got 10 holiday commercials in this post. We'll put that in the show notes so everybody can watch them.
Well, I got in my bad news one that that got people mad, and it's a BBC ad, and working moms thought that it was dissing them. But you know, the UK has a whole tradition of heartwarming holiday advertising, and but this one really pissed off a lot of working moms, and it's a Christmas trailer from the BBC, and it depicts a working mom's relationship with her teenage son. The film's called Wonderland, and it promotes the BBC's holiday content, and it was created in-house. So it shows this family scene in the morning, and this frazzled mother is running around, and her teenage son is trying to get her attention, but he can't do that. And you know, he's trying to say that he wants to spend some time with her at the town Christmas tree lighting, but she's so busy running and racing to get to work and serving breakfast with her do-nothing husband who just sits there, and so she doesn't notice her teenage son. And so you see him, he's mooning around, and suddenly you see her, and she slams her computer program shut, and she runs out of the office to meet him for an afternoon of playing games and going on rides in the amusement park. A lot of working women can do that, right? So one response fumed, like a working parent can just get up and leave work and we'll just happen to have money to spend on a day out. What a way to guilt trip us, BBC. And then another working mom wrote, being a working mother and your kids will be neglected and sad. Thanks, BBC One. So the ad also got wider media attention. The Daily Mail columnist Sarah Vine pointed out the unfortunate timing of the ad when the BBC has recently been criticized for its gender gap in pay. So she said it's inconceivable that BBC, an institution so self-consciously woke and so painfully PC, would deliberately set out to offend working mothers, but there's no getting away from it. This advert makes us out to be witches. And the fact that no one at BBC spotted this inference tells you everything you need to know about how the corporation feels about women in the workforce. Ironically, in the year when it took an awful lot of airtime navel gazing at its gender gap, pay gap, and loudly virtue signaling it's time to change. So Lily Purvis in the Times, meanwhile, wrote, they show us on the one hand a peaky, sweet-faced loner playing arcade games alone by the bleak sea. That was her son because he was sad and he went off by himself. And on the other, a woman who abandons her busy desk and rushes out past colleagues to go to a fun fair. So thus simultaneously, we are portrayed as borderline neglectful mothers and flaky, unreliable workers. Merry Christmas from BBC One. Bah humbug. So that went well.
Well, here's another thing that went well. The Verge's Adai Robertson reports on Iowa's favorite idiot, or and Nazi lover, Steve King, Representative Steve King, who asked some very pointed questions of Google CEO Sundar Pichai, as I mentioned earlier, who was before Congress. Representative King said, Pichai, I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who picked up her phone during the election, and she's playing a little game, the kind of game a kid would play. And up on there pops a picture of her grandfather. And I'm not going to say into the record what kind of language was used around that picture of her grandfather, but I'd ask you, how does that show up on a 7-year-old's iPhone who's playing the kid's game? To which Pichai responded diplomatically, Congressman, the iPhone is made by a different company. And so, what can you say? What a complete and utter moron. King also suggested that Congress should check Google employees' social media profiles to monitor their political leanings. So maybe we should check King's donor and mailing list for Nazis, because he's well known to be a white supremacist loving congressperson.
This time around, the congressman seemed just the tiniest bit more informed, but there was still a lot of just not understanding what this technology revolution is all about. They seem to have missed it. So it's Friday. There's another Facebook bug that exposed. This time it exposed about 7 million people's private photos to a bunch of apps. Now, from my point of view, why would you upload photos you did not want people to see to Facebook, knowing about their privacy situation? But this is from an Ad Age story by Garrett Sloan. And this time the bug made all these private photos public. And so Facebook disclosed what they're calling it a bug in their Photos API. And that's the platform where developers can create apps that tap into people's photos on the site. Now, I don't know why they'd ever need to do that, but apparently dating sites do that. So this bug existed from September 12th to September 25th. They announced it today. Today's December 14th. And during that time, hundreds of apps that use the Photos API were able to see photos that were never made public on Facebook. So apparently a person would only be affected if at some point they gave an app permission to access their photos, but apps for dating and photo sharing typically request access to photos, and Facebook said there were 1,500 apps from 876 developers affected. No big deal. So Facebook said in a blog post today, we're sorry this happened. If somebody, excuse me, is counting the apologies from Facebook, I'm sure the list is now many pages long. And so the post said, early next week, we'll be rolling out tools for app developers that will allow them to determine which people using their app might be impacted by the bug. We'll be working with those developers to delete the photos from impacted users. And Facebook is recommending, so now it's on us, recommending that people log into any apps in which they shared their Facebook photos to check to see what photos they have access to. So, we have to fix it. So Facebook's also been dealing with security concerns all year. The inauthentic accounts run by bad actors, data abuse, the worst hack in its history. And back in September, they reported that hackers exploited a vulnerability in the code that exposed personal data to up to 30 million people. In June, they found a bug. This is one of my favorites, that surreptitiously switched privacy settings to the default public option for about 14 million people. So that meant that people who thought they fine-tuned their privacy found out that they had all their posts were public. And, and then what did Facebook say? We're sorry.
Great. So the Russians can do facial recognition on us now, too.
Yeah. I mean, but, it's like Friday, it's a Facebook problem. And, apparently they're still having record quarters. So go figure.
Their advertising is still the most sophisticated.
Yes,
That's
but
why.
More and more people I talk to are either using Facebook less, like me, or deleting their account. I mean, a lot of people are just fed up with this crap.
Yeah, well, nothing's gonna change until their advertising revenue takes a hit.
Well, that might happen. So, does that bring us to shiny objects?
It does. What do you got?
Oh, this is, I was telling you before the show, I went to this wonderful VR show that was put on by Fallon in New York. Fallon is an agency from Minneapolis, and it was a film about the Latvian rock band that basically led the youth revolution that led to the fall of communism in Latvia. And so this is, unfortunately, I'm one of the people who gets motion sickness from VR. So I appreciate this device, which is a fix for that. It's a developer called Otolith Labs, and they claim they have a solution to the problem of virtual reality motion sickness and nausea. And also for me, a headache for about an hour afterwards. But this is a little device, and you wear it on the headband of the VR headset, and it transmits this form of white noise to your inner ear that helps to cope with the disparity found moving within virtual worlds while not actually moving in the real world. So a lot of times in virtual reality, you're moving through space. And in the one that I watched, there was one point where you felt like you were falling off the platform, and that. So this nausea is a problem for the industry since the earliest days of the prototype Oculus headsets, and higher refresh rate screen rates and motion controllers have done a lot to help our brains come to terms with these movements, but we still experience something that's similar to traveling in cars or planes at high speed. And there are those who still feel very susceptible to feeling sick even after brief periods. So this Otolith Labs technology could change that, and it's called Ototech, and it generates this virtually silent vibrations which flood your inner ear with this white noise, and it causes your brain to reject its inputs, and that makes your virtual reality experience more comfortable. So they report that it works equally effectively if you're seated, standing, or in a room experience with VR. And I've been in all of those, and I felt quite sick in all of them. But if and when it gets FDA approval, it could be turned into a customer product or incorporated into future virtual reality headset designs. So there have been other attempts to fix motion sickness in VR, and they've had mixed success. So a blanket solution that works in all cases would be great. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, it does something to the bones in your head also. It's a little scary. But it's a little thing, and it just goes on the headband.
The back of your base of
Yeah,
your skull. It's
yeah.
probably drilling a hole in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it kinda can't be good for you, but do you have
Well,
one?
yeah, I do, but mine is not nearly as exciting as that. This is LinkedIn has added a new feature to your status updates where you can now upload files directly to LinkedIn. So if you've got PDFs or PowerPoint presentations or documents that you've created that are of interest to your LinkedIn followers, you can upload them directly to your feed or to a group from your desktop. Makes a lot of sense. Microsoft owns LinkedIn now, so Microsoft has the Microsoft Suite, which a lot of businesses use and create a lot of documents out of those. So I tried using it; worked pretty well. I uploaded a PDF. The only thing I would say is that the PDF didn't the sharpness of the images weren't as what I would have expected from the original. So I'm going to try it with a PowerPoint and see if that works better. But it's pretty slick. And then you've got that post of presentation that you've given, and it's in your status update and everything. And there you go.
I have some PowerPoints in there already, and they come out pretty well.
Yeah, I think they're trying to replace SlideShare with
Yeah, well,
this
didn't they
too.
buy it?
They did, but it's kind of gone away. It's kind of
Yeah,
slowly disappeared. So we'll see.
like so many things that we are used to and like.
Right.
So does that bring us to politics,
It
Dave?
does indeed. Yes, it does.
No, I have one where the Washington Post has created an award specifically for individual one. It's the Bottomless Pinocchio. And they say, this is from a story in the Washington Post by Glenn Kessler, and he says most politicians quickly drop a for Pinocchio claim, either out of duty to be accurate or concern that spreading false information could be politically damaging, you think, but not Trump. He keeps going long after the facts are clear in what appears to be a deliberate effort to replace the truth with his own far more favorable version of it. So he's not merely misstating things, he purposely injects false information into the national conversation. So to accurately reflect this phenomenon, the Post fact checker has this new category, the bottomless Pinocchio, and that's the dubious distinction awarded only to politicians who repeat a false claim so many times that they are, in fact, engaging in campaigns of disinformation. Sound familiar? The toilet tweets every morning. So the bar for the bottomless Pinocchio is high. The claims must have received 3 or 4 Pinocchios from the fact checker, and they must have been the lies must have been repeated at least 20 times. So 20 is sufficiently robust that there can be no question that a politician is aware his or her facts are wrong. So the list will be maintained on its own landing page, which currently only has 1 person landing on it. And the fact checker hasn't identified statements from any other current official elected person who even meets the standard that, other than Trump. But of course, he's been undeterred by pesky fact checks showing that he's wrong.
So I think I already gave mine was the worst and a political at the same time. So I think I'll just skip this part.
Okay, so does that bring us to pro tips?
Pro tips, yes, and I got one. This
Okay.
is a LinkedIn pro tip. It's amazing how often I do come across profiles that do not have a photo, that use the default image that LinkedIn has on the photo. You absolutely, if you're going to use LinkedIn, should upload your photo. LinkedIn says members with photo receive far more engagement, 21 times more profile views, and 9 times more connection requests than those that don't have a photo. So use a simple, solid color background for your photo. Dress appropriately for your role. So if you're looking for a new job, dress for success, dress for the position you want. And if depending on what industry you're in, just dress appropriately for your role. So there you go.
Well, I must. Any images on LinkedIn are terrible. They're either like they're not light enough so you can see the person's face, or they clearly cut out the person next to them. That they had their arm around or whatever. That's my favorite on dating sites. But so my tip is a writing tip, and this one really makes me crazy. So many educated people do this. This is apparently the #1 grammatical error that people make, and it's about your, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, and your, Y-O-U-R. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E is the contraction of U and R. So, for example, you're so smart. You're my favorite friend. You're right on time. Your, Y-O-U-R, I feel like your grammar teacher, is belonging to you. And the examples are, I found your book fascinating. Where is your book? Is that your book? Your sweater is over there. I cannot tell you how many times, literally, sometimes a day, I get emails and texts from people I know are very smart who make this mistake. So don't do that.
Yeah, I do that occasionally. I do find myself doing that occasionally, and it's from it's just when you're writing really quickly and you're getting your thoughts out, and it just comes out without you even knowing it. And then if you miss it in the if you in your proofreading, then it goes out and you look like an idiot. But I know the difference between the two. It's just that it kind of happens sometimes. So
I think spell check kind of does it sometimes too. If you have automatic spell check on, I think that mistake sometimes comes from there. But it's something you have to be aware of because it really does make you look dumb.
It does. It does. Yep. All right. So let's wrap this up. Daily numbers. computer electronics household penetration rates. So this, we'll put this in the show notes. This is a handy chart just so you can see what technologies are most prevalent in U.S. households and what technologies are not. This is from a Consumer Technology Association survey of 2,000 adult Americans. Television obviously has high penetration rate at 96%. Smartphones 87%. Computers, notebook, laptop, netbook 72%. Wireless home network device 71%. At the bottom range, I'm not going to go through this, it's a long list, but at the bottom range, pet technology, it's 6%. So that's like a video camera that keeps that is at your pet level. That
they have ones where you could give the pet a treat.
Yeah, that dispenses treats. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Smart thermostat is 9%. Drones 10%. So only 10% of U.S. households have a drone. I'm among them, but I need a better drone. VR headsets. You were talking about VR, 11%. So yeah, it's an interesting, handy chart just to get a sense of what kind of consumer technology people are using and whether you should be using that. VR headsets only 11%. Maybe want to wait a while before you launch your new VR campaign.
Well, the VR headsets will become more popular when they're not $300 and $700. You know, like when one comes along. Well, yeah, but not everybody does. I mean, I just happen to be really sensitive. The one that made me really sick was a tour of the agave plant by a tequila company that I can't think of the name of, and you were the bee, and you were going all around
That's cool.
and so you were moving and you were above it all, and I was like, I had to stop. I mean, it went too fast. So that's what they're learning a lot, is that it has to go slow. It's a new technology, you know, it's got ways to go.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of episode 253 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And we'll have links to everything we talked about at beyondsocialmediashow.com/253. And I am here with my very charming co-host, David Erickson, who's on Twitter as D. Erickson. He's on Instagram as D.E. Erickson. He blogs at the terrific eStrategyBlog.com. And I'm BL Ochman. I'm on Twitter as at What's Next. I blog at What's Next Blog. I'm on YouTube as What's Next Blog. And if you haven't gotten a Christmas gift yet for your grandparents, go to funwalkers.com and buy them a funny license plate for their walker. We are online. The show is online at beyondsocialmediashow.com. We're on YouTube, Beyond Social Media. We're on Twitter, BS Media Show, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Home, iHeartRadio. There's no excuse for not finding us. So anyway, thanks for watching tonight, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching.